Hi everybody, it's Miss Toth here. We're going to talk about fractions today, and I'm very excited about fractions, and I sure wish I had a pizza, but I think for this lesson I'm going to need lots of pizzas. So instead, I'm using my trusty old rice cake. So this is a whole rice cake. This is a whole rice cake. Watch. Hiya! I'm going to chop my rice cake. Hopefully my knife will be sharp enough, and I'm going to chop it in half. Oh, it's perfect. I chopped it. I have a whole rice cake, and now I have half of a rice cake. It was whole, and now it is half. Do we understand that? Okay, so a whole rice cake can be separated into half. How do I know it's in half? Because it should be equal, or as close to equal as I can get it, but it should be equal parts on both sides. So when I take it apart and I fold it over or match it up, it is the same on both sides. Do we understand that, kind of? Yes. So when you're sharing a cupcake with your brother or your sister, and you say, Mom and Dad, I want half, you don't want less than your brother or sister. You want the exact same amount. So this, when you say the word half, you're talking about exact same amount. Okay, good. So the first worksheets that you have is talking about what half means. So half, again, is the exact fold. So if I were to take this square and I say fold it in half, I need to line it up exactly, exactly as exact as I can, to make sure that it is now half. All right, so it was whole and now it is half. And that's all it is. Lesson 1, done. Okay, so now fractions, all we need to remember is fractions means it is equal parts of a whole. So we might be talking about a half, we might be talking about another part. So that's all it is. It's equal parts of a whole. Okay. I have got all of these papers. As you can tell, I have cut them so they're all exactly the same size. Can we see that? They're exactly the same size. Now if I'm looking at this rectangle, goodbye. If I'm looking at this rectangle here and I want to put it together, and let's imagine it is one paper and this was the original rainbow paper, let's say it was a magical rainbow paper, and I cut this into 4 equal strips, I can say this was the whole and now it's being cut into 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. But it wasn't. They were originally the same. So they were 4 equal parts of one whole. If they were, that's fine. Okay, so far so good. This is a whole. If I want to cut this in half, to make sure that I've cut it in half, I'm going to fold it in half to make sure that I have exactly 2 exact halves, because we need to be specific. Oh, I think I'm going to turn my board around this way. My board is getting turned this way. So that is 2 equal halves. Now I'm going to separate them into 3 equal parts. So the way that I do this is I just fold it over, 3 about equal parts, as close as I can get without using a ruler. And of course, to make it absolutely equal, I should have used a ruler. You are right. But for the sake of time, I'm not. So now I have 2 parts, and here I have 3 equal parts of the whole paper. Remember, this color paper was originally exactly the same all the way through. Okay, so now I'm going to fold this green paper into, how did you know? That's right, into 4 parts. So I'm just going to chop that up like this, and then chop that up like this. And of course, if I used a ruler, I would be exact. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to fold it this way. So here we go. I've got my 2's, my 3's, my 4, cut them up into 4. What do you think I should do with this last paper, my red paper? Should I cut it up into 5's or 6's? I don't know. It's up to you, I guess. How about we kind of change it up? Oh, let's do, I don't know. What do you think? Well, let's see. Let's do 6's just for the sake of time. We could do 5's. I'm going to cut them up into 6's. 1, 2. Oh, maybe. You know what, you guys? I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to do something mind-blowing and exciting. All right, so here we go. What is it going to be? What is she doing? I don't know. How many parts? How many parts is she going to cut out of the whole red paper? So this was a whole red paper, and now it has been cut. It has been cut into 1, 2, 3, 4, oopsie daisy, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Oops, it just went off the board. It's only going off the board because I need the space, not because my paper got larger, of course. So we should all reason that. Yes? Okay. Now, the lesson here that I want you to pay attention to is that what I had is I had whole. My paper was the same, and the only reason why they're a different color is so that you can see it better where you are at home. So I have got 1/2 and I have another half. So I have 1/2 and 1/2 is going to give me 1 whole. I have 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. I have 3 papers cut into thirds. And putting it together, it's going to give me a whole. I have a quarter. I have 1/4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4. So 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4. I'm going to put that together, and I now have a whole. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 strips of paper. So this would be 1, 8, 2, 8, 3, 8, 4, 8, 5, 8, 6, 8, 7, 8 eights. Put them together, and I have a whole again. Does that make sense so far? Okay. Fractions, all it is, back to the rice cake, is the whole, or it's a half of a whole represented in lots of different ways. You can represent it as a circle, as a pizza, as a pie, as a cake, as a strip of paper. Every way is fine. So zip back down again, and I'm looking just at the yellow paper. So the yellow paper is the 2. So together, this is 1 whole. If I am going to write this, I have 2 strips of yellow paper, and I have 1/2 of the whole. So 1 out of 2, and here's another 1 yellow out of 2. Now, my plan was not to teach you how to write fractions today. I was hoping that we could maybe get that done a little bit next week, but I think we're going to move on to fraction writing right now. So here we go. So I've got 1, 2, 3. So what you do is on the bottom of the fraction when you're writing out the fraction, it's how many pieces are going to make up the whole. So I've got 2 pieces are going to make up a whole. And then on the top is what is the part. So the top is what is the part of the whole, and the bottom is how many parts altogether make up the entire bit. So if I look down at my pink one, how many parts do I have to make up the entire bit? I have 1, 2, 3. So this is 3, and this is 1 out of the 3 to make the whole. So this would be another 1/3, and this one here is another 1/3. Does that make sense so far? Okay. Now if I go down here, how many do I have on the green? Do you remember? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can say I need to have 4 equal pieces to make 1 whole green strip of paper. So I've got 1/4, so that's 1 part out of 4. And this would still be 1 part out of 4. And this is still 1 part out of 4. And this is still 1 part out of 4. So I can say 1 part plus 1 part plus 1 part plus 1 part would give me 4 parts out of 4 to give me a whole. And then of course down here, do you remember how many strips we had for the red? Let me see if I can move this up a bit. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 parts. 8 parts, and that's it. This is the fraction all the way down. Miss Toth is writing upside down again, just to make sure you can see that 8. 8, 8, 8. Okay, so if I have 8 here, this represents 1 strip out of 8. This strip is 1 strip out of 8 altogether, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. Does that make sense? All right. Now, if I were to look at these, and let's say I'm only looking at, the pink today. So I'm just going to cover up these ones here so we're not paying attention to those, and we're looking up at the pink ones here. Let's say that I have these 3 strips of yellow, and I am going to cover up these 2. So I could say Miss Toast's hands on 2/3 of the pink paper. 2 out of 3 squares are covered up. 2/3. So I could write that as 2/3 squares Miss Toast has covered up. 2/3. 2 out of the 3 squares are covered up. All right. If I wanted to cover up this one, I would just say 1/2 of the yellow paper, the strip of paper, has been covered up by Miss Toast's hand. I can go down here, bloop, and we'll just cover up these ones so we can take a look. If I am looking at the 4s and I want to cover up 2, what would you say? How many squares am I covering up? I am covering up 2/4. 2 out of 4, 2/4 have been covered up. So instead of writing 1/4, I would write 2/4 have been covered up. Or if I cover up 3, I would write the fraction 3/4. So if I cover that up, 3/4. Cover up 1, cover up 2, cover up 3. 3/4. All right. Now if I were to cover up out of the 8, let's play a little game. Let's see if you can get it. So think about this. Here's the 1/8. 1/8, 1/8. I've got 8 parts here. Remember, 8 is going to give me the full strip of paper. If I'm to cover up 3, how would you write that fraction? So think about it. How would you write this fraction? So I'm covering up 3 parts of the whole. Right, so I'm covering up 3 parts of the whole. So that's 8 out of the 8 squares altogether. Good. So if I cover up 5 here, how do you write the fraction? Right, 5 out of 8 down there. Well done, everybody. Very, very good work. Okay, up we go. Hello! Here we go. Now, fractions can be done as strips of paper. It could be done as rice cakes. It could be done as pizzas. I just threw all the paper over in the corner. Okay. It can also be done in lots of different shapes and pictures too. So, if I look at this picture, how many circles do I have altogether? Right, I have 7. I have 7 altogether. This is like when we do our Mad Minutes, when we say, oh, our Mad Minutes out of 30 today, we're going to answer 30 questions. Let's see how many we get right. Okay, so we have 7 altogether. How many are black? Or blue, sorry. How many are colored blue? That's right. So I have 4. So what that means is, out of all the 7 altogether, the total, the whole of the circles, only 4 have been colored blue. So how many then are colored white? Well, that's when you would figure that out, or you'd look and then you say, oh yes, well 3 out of 7 then are colored white. So when we're doing the Mad Minute and I say, right, it's out of 30, and we have to write our score up at the top, how many altogether did you get right? If you got them all right, then of course you write 30. I got 30 all right out of 30 questions altogether. Okay, and if you get 1 wrong, then you say, wow, I still did really well. I got 29 right out of 30 questions altogether. So out of the whole. So we're looking at the whole. Okay. So I want you to pay attention. When you see this, a picture that looks like this, how many have been colored in? So you could say 2 out of 3 have been colored in, or you can use the word thirds. So you can say 2/3 have been colored in. So here we go. We have a half. Here's the vocabulary now, please. The half, so that was me cutting up the rice cake. We have a half, we have a third, and I'm just going to draw some pictures for you just to help you so you can always come back and look. We have a fourth. I'm going to do this way again. We have fifth. This reminds me of something. Does this remind you of something? What does it remind you of? Yeah, putting things in order. Remember we did that? Ordinal numbers. The fifth. And then we go sixth. Right? A sixth. And so on, and so on, and so on. So it gives you that idea, right? So a half is right down the middle of half. A third means it's 1 out of 3. There's 3 parts. A fourth would mean there's 4 parts. A fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So pay attention to what they're asking you to do. It's exactly like ordinal numbers, what we were doing way back in the fall. Remember we put you in order? And I'd say, okay, 10th, 7th, 6th. So when you're doing your fractions, pay attention to how many parts are going to equal that whole number. In your activities this week on the online work that you can do if you choose not to do a printout, I'm almost out of time here. We're talking about fractions on a number line, and this is kind of tricky. So if the number 1 is a whole number, there's all the space between. So if I were to say, this is my drawing, yep, sorry, line should be there. If I say this, I don't know if you can say, if I say this is my drawing and 1 is my whole number, how many parts in this drawing make up the whole 1? So I can look, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 equal parts that are going to give me 1 whole number. So I can say 4 jumps out of 4 jumps is going to give me 1 whole number. Or I can say, if I did like a little star here or a little Mickey Mouse here or something, I can say Mickey Mouse is 1/4 of the way close to the 1. Okay, one more time just for fun. If I give you a number line and 1, the number 1 is the whole number, not a part, okay? Just for fun. Let's imagine this is exactly even. I know it doesn't look perfectly even. We're going to figure out how many jumps it takes to get us to 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it takes 7 jumps to get to 1. So 7 out of 7 would be 1 whole because of how many jumps it takes, how many equal spaces it takes to make it whole. If I were to put a heart here, how could you show that as a fraction? Okay, so my jumps are still going to be 7. It's out of 7. How many times do I have to go? 1, 2, 3, 4. So the heart is 4/7 to get to, on its way to the whole 7/7 or 1. Okay, play around with it. There's a game online. You can look at it, take a look. Also, you can do a Khan Academy to help you if you want another review, and we can look at it a little bit more next week. Thanks.